talk about the influence by your mother. That's the exact same thing that I started off last week when I talked about my positive influences. And I said that my mother taught me how to love, and it just went from there. So let me bring back something from your childhood. Were you a paper boy? Did you sell papers?
I sold grits.
Did you say grits, Grits?
Yeah, grits paper. I sold it. We didn't have a delivery and a mail delivery, and the grits was a thing you got by mail, and you went to neighbors and sold them, I think, for 15 cents.
I thought you said you sold grits, like like.
No, it was a paper. It was a paper, and it's a weekly, I guess it was, or a monthly or something or other. But anyway, I was young, but we didn't have newspaper deliveries when I was growing up. And of course, if we'd had them by mail, we wouldn't have subscribed to them because it's too expensive. I mean, I'm talking about I growing up at a time. I can remember when we got television. I was about 11 years old, and we never got a bathroom in the house until I was in high school or running water. But we eat good, and we didn't think we was poor. Okay.
Let me run through some of your background real quick. Don grew up in Wise County, Virginia, where UVA Wise, a branch of the University of Virginia, is there, and that's where the Napoleon Hill Foundation is. But Don, you had a very unusual pet when you were young, and you used to, I think, make money doing little shows with your pet. Don, did you have a bear?
I did. I bought a pet bear. Probably could send me to jail for it. Didn't know it was against the law to possess one of them, but I bought one off of some Indians down in North Carolina when he was first born, and paid $150 for it. I remember. I did. I had first off. We had a no block building on our property on the edge of the highway, and my dad helped me. We caught some poison snakes and threw them over in there, and I had hand lettered signs first nailed up on the trees on each side of where the building was. It was US 23 then. It was a dual lane road, but it was not a divided highway, and but it's a road that went from Detroit to Florida, and it's a main thoroughfare. And I put them signs up: Indian Mountain Reptile Garden ahead, and I charged $0.25 for people to look over in there and see them snakes. And then I got we called it a pop machine, soft drinks. That's when it was a nickel, and started selling all this without license. Business was uncomplicated then. And then I got some rough lumber, and a couple of guys built me a little shed and to house the pop machine, and I started selling crackers and peanuts and candy bars, and then I had a little souvenir line, and then I got the bar and put him out back and fenced the area in, and it built a cage. And then I started acquiring monkeys and different monkeys and peafowls and different. Had albino groundhog, several monkeys and such things. I kept adding to it. I did so well when I was still in high school. I loaned my oldest brother money to buy his first house, and it was just a natural to me. I had a quarter, and the good days in the summer was $100, and people seeing the snakes, which meant there's at least 250 people looked at them, only charged a dime per kids. And the souvenirs, of course, you could, something cost $0.25, you could get $1 for it, because I had little stickers made on them. Or souvenirs, I still got a few of them. It said, after all these years, Indian Mountain Reptile Garden. And one of the items I'm proud of is I've got an 1885 silver dollar a man from Ohio gave me, and I'm about 16 or 17, and I scratched my girlfriend's name on it. PHYL, and I still have it. It's in the safe deposit box. Be my daughter one day. But I was married to that girl for 54 years before I lost her 2 years ago, be April 1. So
Don, God bless you, Don. Don, I was with you. I was with you when you were going through that, and I gotta just say something. I had just met you about a year before, and I just want to thank you for the inspiration that you gave me. You were always telling me that you probably couldn't meet with me or talk to me because you were going to be with your wife, and but now you know, I don't really know how to say this, Don, other than thank you for being the man that you are and setting an example like you did. And thanks for spending time with me now. Don, you went on to get into a career in banking. And at 41 years old, you were the president of a bank. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
How did that happen? How did you get into banking?
I could say I worked hard. Steve, I was absolutely thrilled to death. When I got married to get a job as they called assistant managers, but I worked for a finance company working outside handling past due accounts. And in the area we live in, wasn't a lot of people had a phone. So when they didn't pay after a few letters, they would give you a card with the information, and you simply drove to their house. You had to use your own car. You got 7.5 cents a mile. And I made $1.10 an hour. And for overtime, because we was on a training program, we didn't fit into the time and a half. In fact, we got halftime when we went past 40 hours a week, and I usually work 60. And I got 55 cents an hour for overtime. But Steve, I was thrilled to death. They had us. I take a course in finance that they furnished the material, which I had to do on my own time. But I got to wear a shirt and a tie, and I was thrilled to death. I worked. It was a pleasure. And when I was 21, I guess I was promoted. I'm talking about for CIT, and I have a letter somewhere or another. I was the youngest office manager in their history. And it was unbelievable. And in fact, it was a result of my first time ever having to speak in public. I didn't know it. But they had contests, and I'd been transferred and got promoted to Indianapolis. And I managed their smallest office in the region, and I managed their largest office in the Indianapolis region. And we was in Louisville to a meeting for the managers, and I would think, if I can recall back, there was several hundred of them. And my name was called out and asked me to come forward. You know, man, walking up there, I probably was halfway back. My heart was jumping out of my chest, and so they wanted to know how I did it. You know, and I wasn't prepared for no speaking. To this day, I don't know what I said was, but I give people credit for it. And I learned a few things. And back to the snake pit days, Steve. If you stopped in there and I saw you after 2 or 3 times, a lot of these old miners, they work and they had royalties up in Ohio and Indiana. They'd bring them in. Well, where do you take them in a rural area? We was one of the main attractions, that snake pit. They had souvenirs and they'd bring them. So if I recognized you, that you've been there before, I say, hey, Steve, I appreciate you bringing your people by to see us. But I said, and you'd show them around. I said, but next time you bring somebody, just tell me you brought me some friends. And I said, I won't charge you to get in, and you can show them around. Do me a favor. Well, they were, as we'd say, in hog heaven. Old guys working in the mines, they're not the center of attention. You know, to be able to put them on stage and tell their relatives or something other about the snakes and so forth and so on. I mean, it was a thrill, and of course I was too, because them people, they end up buying $20, $30 worth of souvenirs, and which I've got probably $5 or $10 invested in, and I just learned some lessons. And I remember when they run the contest, they sent the things out, and we had terminology like FB was a former barrier, and NB an end barrier, and FC and so forth, abbreviations. And they did a contest, and we had a catalog. You could get everything in from exercise equipment to blenders to watches to, you name it. And each one of those items cost so many points. And they run a contest for like 6 months at a time. And so they didn't tell us to. They suggested, here's how the points break down, each 1,000 points. The office manager gets 500 points. The assistant manager gets 200 or what it was. And then the tellers get 100 or something like that. So I held a meeting, and I said, these are not set fast rules. You can read what it says. It says suggested. I said, well, I don't like their suggestion. What we're going to do is, if we get 1,000 points, and there's 5 of us in here, we're going to get 200 points apiece. Everybody's going to be treated alike. because the tellers, y'all the most important people in here. You see more people than anybody. And so if you miss a chance to offer someone more money because they had an account card, once they become eligible for additional money, there would be a red star stamped on their card, so the teller could just look at it when she cashed her payroll check or took a payment, and she could say, Steve, you can get $300 more on your account today, and take about 5 minutes if you're interested. And so they was important, and so of course we won, and then they want to know how I did it. I mean, it was almost like cheating. I mean, I just simply thought it was the right thing to do. I mean, I was called the manager, but I was useless without those people, and I've continued to do stuff like that. I did my thesis, so I went on and went to school. I only went to community college. I got married, but I went to night school, East Tennessee State University, and got a degree in accounting and finance. Then I went to University of Virginia Banker School, and then I went to Rutgers Stonier Graduate School of Banking and got a graduate degree in banking. And I had to do a thesis.
Don, can I interrupt you just for a second?
Yes.
I want to tell the listeners something about you that you have been clearly demonstrated. When I was talking to you on the phone a week or two back, I made the statement that my main donor, Frank, he said to me when I was talking to him, he said, Steve, you gotta remember this. When a pastor gives a sermon and he brings out 3 points of theology, people do not remember the points of theology, but they remember the story. And so when I told you that the other day, you said, that's exactly right, Steve. And what I want to tell the listeners is, you have been listening to Don for 20 minutes with me, and he is an endless story that all has lessons to be learned. And I just want to finish his early career up into banking with this statement. I did a little research on Don. Don, this is your life, you know what I mean? Check this one out, Don. Let me find this here for a minute. It says, when you retired, when the bank got sold, your wife said, they said, what are you going to do, Don, after you retire? And your wife said, Don has never worked at nothing. He's doing what he likes, and he gets other people to do what he wants to get done.
Yeah, I'm not sure she meant it in jest. She was doing, her father had kidney failure, and she was doing, I don't know what they do, but a support group. She would go to dialysis and sit, and, they get people something to drink or give them orange. I don't know what they do, but they spend several hours in it. And so we was out to eat one night, and we was at a table, and then there were some people, women that she was in the support group with, and they carried on a conversation, and that's what one of the ways says, now, what's Don going to work at since he's retired? And that's what she come out of that statement. I took it to be a positive statement because I really mean that. And I don't care if it's running a dry cleaners or running spring water or running real estate, is you got to have help of mothers. I mean, I can't plan a building or anything like that. I can handle the finance part of it, but I don't have the concept to sit down and draw out buildings, plans for a building, and draw in the parking spaces and locate a drive-in on the building and so forth, and fit it on that the size of real estate that you got to work with, and have ample parking, ample room for everything. But if there is a secret, that's pretty much it. But you have to get with the people on their side. I said my whole thesis on the banking bit was, and the collection bit, which I wrote my thesis on, was I would say, Steve, you and I got a problem. What do you mean we got a problem? I said, well, you're 3 payments behind, and the boss said, don't tell me. I come out here to work something out with you. All of a sudden, you got a friend. I said, what can we do? Can you get one of them? I mean, I've got to come back through here later. If you get one of them, I'll go back and tell them that you're working on it, and you'll work on it. I said, I don't want your car. I was in banking for almost 20 years. I never foreclosed on a real estate loan I made in my life, and that's what we special in, because I made the loans right, but also I work with the people. And if they had a problem,
John, you remember the movie with Jimmy Stewart? It's a Wonderful Life.
Yes.
That sounds like that's the same point that you just made.
Yeah.
Hey, Don, let me go on to something else here.